Where are we on the Brexit-ometer, according to Prof. Blyth? Doom or opportunity?
How about in the middle?
Ach, no, I don't want that.
This is the British way of doing things, right? Basically what you do is you just muddle through. So you extend things, and that becomes the new permanent state of affairs. Think about it. The Labour Party now says it wants to be in the customs union. Well, you want to be in the customs union, you're kind of in Europe. But they've said that we're definitely not turning our back on Brexit. This is a classic British fudge. The reason it's a fudge is because they had the best deal ever, and then they found out we kind of blew it, and now they have to get back in.
We had the comments from Mr. Barnier that raised the prospect that this critical March end deadline is going to be missed, but you're saying it's not really going to matter either way.
That could actually be the game plan. I mean, ultimately, you're trying to negotiate an incredibly complex set of arrangements which have been 30 years organically grown up, and you're going to replace them all with stuff you don't really know how to do. Well, good luck with that one. Far better to fudge it through and see what happens. It's the classic British way of dealing with this.
No, look, your friend, I introduced you, the man that called Brexit, the man that called Trump. Where are we on the political spectrum? As I look at France, you've got Macron, the Dauphin. He arrives. He's going to change the world, they tell me, and change France. Will he raise wages in enough time to see off Marine Le Pen in round 2 in 4 years' time?
Probably not. Because to do that, he needs not just the cooperation of the Germans, which may or may not be forthcoming. After all, they still don't have a government. You've also got to have the global economy on your side. And the global economy is over-saving. Corporates are net savers in the developed world. Old people are becoming the predominant voting bloc. They save too much. Interest rates are structurally low, and you have a massive inequality skew. Okay, how do you solve all that in one presidential term? The guy may be popular, he may have the right ideas, but how do you change the world in 6 years?
And this goes back to the point on the wider populism trends. And we were talking about this just before we went on air. You were making the case that, you know, some people are writing off populism. It's reached its peak. You're saying, well, we might just be getting warmed up here. If you look at the real events happening across continental Europe.
Well, the talk I gave here was called the new normal. The new normal is not interest rates of 4%. It's 2%, but it's also populism is where we are. Combined European vote shares of left and right populist parties are now a quarter of the vote. The German SPD is sitting at 17%. Outside of Labour Party, which is basically an LBO by Corbyn for the dead husk of New Labour, that's the only party that stands a chance in an election. The centre's already folded. It's just that they haven't got the memo yet.
Mark, last year, in the dying months of last year, Anna Edwards, myself, Yousef, we were talking about North Korea, North Korea, North Korea. What's going to happen? Another explosion. It seems to have gone off our immediate myopic radar of risk. We're talking about tariffs in China this morning. What are we missing in the paradigm that is North Korea and the United States of America?
I think we were all seduced by Canadian ice dancers. I think that kind of took it off the boil. But the serious point is this. They're under sanctions now for fuel as well as food and everything else. Those guys are hurting. The guy who was shot, the troop that came over, had tapeworms in his body. He's frontline troops. The country's starving to death. By the end of the summer, the Chinese reckon this is going critical. At that point, the leadership has to respond. They only have one tool: get aggressive. It's going to come back.
But the signals are positive. You see what's happening with the Olympics, with the delegation that they sent, with voices from South Korea and from North Korea, arguably the most reconciliatory we've heard in a very long time.
And people forget that when the last phase of reconciliation went on, they took a submarine, took it into a South Korean harbour, and detonated torpedoes into a destroyer.
Yeah, I mean, let me just follow up here. So you're saying I need to be more concerned about North Korea, and investors should be so too, more than any other geopolitical risk around the world, more than Donald Trump, more than rhetoric between Saudi Arabia and Iran, more than anything else?
If the Americans are forced to respond to North Korean actions, that's the biggest thing on your lunch plate for the foreseeable future.
There's an election coming up. It's in Italy. It could be, or could it be, a disruptor?
I'm going to discount this one, and here's why. The way that Italy works is kind of everything changes and then nothing changes. It's kind of the Italian predicament. And you've got lots of people in there, Beppe Grillo and others, who are saying the euro is bad, etc. But you know what? They've got a Hotel California problem. Once you check in, how do you get out? You stand up and say, I'm going to have a referendum on the euro. Every Italian with euro assets opens a German bank account. Boom, you just blew up your banking system. Congrats.
Very quickly, Jens Weidmann, we were talking to him. What's your suggestion? Mr. Weidmann, if you're listening, this is your suggestion.
I'm not part of this message.
You're okay. Join me. You can dovetail if you want. Go.
Well, rather than having interest rate guidance, why not just have it written in the German constitution that all savers get 4% real regardless of real economic conditions? Because that seems to be what they want.